It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturist, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the Naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 86 today. Really glad that you were with us. We've missed you all week. Where have you been? We've been here and we've been waiting for you for 167 hours. But here you are, and here we are, ready to enjoy this next hour together, enjoying clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. The pool is ready to go. I even put the heater on this morning, so you can't go wrong there. The hot tub is fired up full bore. The grill is going full blast. Fruits and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, and inside you will find hot drinks, hot coffee, hot tea, and because one of our listeners contributed, a Lisa Monroe espresso machine. Our community, as he says, can now enjoy a lovely double espresso, large cappuccino, or for those listening, where it's a hot day, iced cappuccino. How about that? We also have the cigar bar in the back left corner of the pool area. We have plenty of towels, plenty of suntan lotion. And let's just enjoy the breeze, enjoy the sun, and enjoy everything that is before us today. And clothes-free living for all, the only way to go as far as we are concerned, and we believe that you are with us in those thoughts. Well, on today's show, we'll have part 2 of my interview with MARC from France, who writes a lot of nudist naturist books under the pen name Stan Muir. He also runs and operates the website nudeandhappy.com, so visit him early and often, buy his books. A terrific guy, one who is also fully into naturism for all the right reasons, not to promote himself, but to promote the joys of being clothes-free. So visit him at nudeandhappy.com. Lisa Monroe, who has calmed down a little bit since last week, will be with us for an extended segment. She is in the outer office right now. We'll be waving her in here in just a few minutes. She's waving back to me right now. I don't know why, but we'll get her here in a few minutes for an extended segment. Just a reminder, you can reach us in a lot of places. We are on Twitter. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Patreon. You can reach us, and a lot of people do in those 3 places. You can also email us at nakedforevermore@gmail.com. We do invite you to join us on Patreon. You can join as a free member, by the way, and still get all of the information, except for the special content that goes only to those who pay for a subscription to our show. But by becoming a member, a paid member, you help us out a lot here. We've told the story before. We gave up paid work to do this show. We give it to you for free every week. And if you're enjoying it, if it's had some meaning in your life, and you enjoy the content, the banter with Lisa and myself, the special guests that we have, every single Saturday for an hour without fail. This is the 86th straight Saturday that we've delivered a brand new show to you. If you appreciate all that because you're not getting that anywhere else, then we invite you to join and support us here on Patreon. You can just get there by going patreon.com and type in Naked, Nudists, and Naturist, and you can find us. The link is also in the show notes for every single show. Just as a heads up, I got a phone call the other day. One of my distant relatives might need some assistance from me. If so, that means I'll be gone. Does that mean 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 weeks? I have no idea, and won't have any idea till I get there. We are planning on episode 87 next week, but if I am called away and have to fly 1,000 miles away from the studio, we'll provide our best of show for you. Number 1, it's already set to go. So either way, you'll still get a brand new show next week. Well, again, you're listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 86 today. Thank you for being with us. Clothes-free living for the entire hour together. And I don't know about you, but I think I hear some music in the background. Do you hear it? Oh, yes, there it is. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the completely clothes-free, completely smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. How you doing this morning?
I am doing well. Life has shot us a few curveballs, but we're working through it, and we'll be as strong as ever and ready to go on today's show. We have part two, of course, with Mark from France, as I like to call him. But yeah, I guess that's it's his actual name. That's where he lives. So
Right. And Mark of nudeandhappy.com, which is
yeah,
a fabulous naturist website.
it
Just
is.
one of the best.
And he was one of the first to reach out to us right after we started the show to say, "Hey, you guys are doing a great job over there. I'm so and so, and tell me more about you."
Mhm.
And he was promoting us early on, even before we had really met. And just nice to have him on the show for a full length interview, part two of which will be coming up when we're done with our segment here. How about that?
That's pretty good. I can't wait to hear the second part because he's just very interesting and entertaining and just a terrific person all the way around. And his website has generated so many people visiting our own website and then consequently I'm sure listening to the show, so we really appreciate his support.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so, man. He does a great job, and he's the real deal. He's not just out there to, "Hey, world, look at me," or "How cool I am." He actually believes fully in naturism and the joys of it, and trying to spread that joy to other people, which is what we really appreciate around here, don't we?
Very much so, and his articles, he's just an extremely good writer. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just amazing work, so
Yeah.
everybody needs to go check him out.
Absolutely. Well, we have, as everybody knows now, at least I hope everybody knows now, unless you're brand new to the show today, we have a Patreon page. And again, everybody knows why, unless you're new to the show. We've been giving up paid work to do this show for free. Makes no sense. You'll never learn that in a business class. So we started a Patreon page to ask for your support. You get the show once a week. And if you can kick back our way to offset some of the costs, we'd appreciate it. And Lisa, on every show, we'll try to get two people out there who've become Patreon members and give to us every month to keep the show going. Who are our two people today?
The two people today are Thomas and Mark,
Mm-hmm.
and we really appreciate their support. And people should come join us. We started a little chat area on there, so we kind of talk back and forth and ask questions and so forth. So it's kind of fun. So you just come on if you want to interact with Frank and Lisa a little more.
That's right. And we got a lot, every month on the 10th, we send two pieces of content to Patreon members only, paying Patreon members, our monthly newsletter and our monthly special content. And this month's special content, which just came out earlier this week on the 10th, probably the most responses we've ever gotten to anything that we've ever done here. So
Well, it might have something to do with the content,
I
but
think it did. Yeah,
we'll see how that plays out.
I think it did. So we encourage people to join us there. Obviously, you can join for free. There's a way to do that, and you'll get most of the content. But if you want the special content and you want to support us because we are supporting you, it's kind of a two-way street here. We would ask you to do that. And the best way, Lisa, is just go to patreon.com and type in Naked Nudists and Naturists, or they can get the site off of our website. Is that right?
That's true, and in fact, they want to go to the website, they can just link directly into it and go there. And if they want to go on the website, they can also go to the NNN shop. So,
Okay. And well, last thing, and we put it in the show notes right at the
mhm.
beginning of each show that hits every Saturday. It gives you the link to the Patreon page. So we ask you to join us and the special content there. You mentioned merchandise. What's going
I
on
did.
there? What's the latest and greatest?
Well, we've got a lot of things on the website right now that hold both the NNN and the Naturist, or Naked Nudist and Naturist. I always get that wrong. Naked Nudist and Naturist logo. And so there's t-shirts, cups, water bottles, tumblers, can cozies, beach towels. Beach towels are really popular
Mm,
and they really look terrific.
mhm.
So people just need to go check it out and see what goodies they can get.
Yeah. I talked to a guy, interviewed him for the show. He'll be coming up on a future show. I don't want to give his name away yet. But he mentioned everywhere he goes in town, when he has to put clothes on, he wears a baseball hat with some sort of a naturist, naked nudist expression or logo, something on the hat that says, "Hey, I love being naked 25/8. Why don't you join me?" or whatever it says. And
Mhm.
he says that a lot of times he'll get comments from people, even in the grocery store. They'll look at him and say, "Hey, I'm one of those too." And he said it's a great conversation starter. If you just walk through the store and keep to yourself and nobody knows you're a naturist, you buy your stuff, you go home, that's it. But if you wear a hat that says naked nudist and naturist, it just might propel somebody else to say, I listen to that show as well, or I'm also a naturist. What clubs do you go to? What beach do you go to? And all in about 5 seconds, you made a new friend. How about that?
Very that sounds good to me. I think, as we've said before many, many times, there's an awful lot more of them out there than we know.
Hmm.
And we haven't reached there, people who are home naturists and not even social naturists. And we've even seen through some of our responses to the shows that some of these home naturists are now venturing into social naturism because they're hearing about it and understanding that it's a normal thing to do. And so they're going to clubs, they're going to beaches, and that's really great because that helps the community all the way around.
Hmm. Well, I've always, not always said, but for many years now, I've said, I think we've been lied to forever. We were born with no clothes on. We were intended to live with no clothes on unless we needed them for the elements. And society has lied to us. The fashion industry has lied to us. The clothing industry lied
Too,
to us. The list goes on
too
and on
close.
to the point where we think being naked is wrong. And that is not the case at all. It's actually 100% correct. And the more that people begin to understand or fully embrace it, the better off we'll be, the happier we'll be, right?
Very much so. And very much so.
Yeah. I wanted to make one comment before we get into a couple of other pieces of content here. We will often get emails from people that will say, Frank, Lisa, Jennifer, and the entire team. And they'll have a comment or a question or whatever. And there's a misnomer out there, not so much from our people who write in, because some people write that just to be funny, but other people write it being serious. But there's a misnomer out there. Well, no wonder they turn out a 1 hour show every week. No wonder they put out content 7 days a week, because they have a team. They have 1,000 people or 50 billion people pumping away out there. Frank does his little piece. Lisa does her little piece. Then they go to the naked beach while everybody else scrambles around. Well, anyway, that's not the case. We don't actually have a team. So we'll just say this, hopefully only this time, maybe never again. Although then again, we might say it next week. Who knows? Basically, Lisa, you and I are the team, and we put the content together. I do all of the recording, the editing, the post producing, the processing, all things like that. You do the website, the merchandise, the Thursday memes, and maybe some more. I'll give you the microphone in a minute. Jennifer basically that's really not her job here. She does other things, but one of the things that we put on her plate back in 2023 is she'll manage the social media. Like Frank, you might want to check, Bill Smith from Iowa. He has a question
Hmm.
for you. Okay, that way I don't have to sit there all day looking at Twitter or Blue Sky. She can just say, "Hey, there's a message for you. You need to check into that." Or if we want to get a hold of a guest, I'll ask her to, send an inquiry to so and so, see if they'd like to be on the show. That's kind of her role there. She has nothing to do with the actual content. So that's our whole team. That's our whole team here. Did I miss anything that you do for the show? I did that off the cuff, so
No,
I don't want to miss anything.
I don't think so. I mean, I do a lot of the website and such as it is, and the newsletter for Patreon, and a few things like that. But it's all fun. But it is actually time consuming and not always easy.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's fun, and we couldn't do it without Jennifer though, because she does stay on top of things that we
yeah,
need to know about.
yeah,
And so that's a great thing for us. And she has just been invaluable in just small things that I've needed that she's attended to immediately, and things get done, and it's really great. But no, there are days when I wish there were 5 or 6 or 10 or 15,000 people to say, "Hey,
get
could
it.
you do this for me? I got to do this,"
Yeah.
but it doesn't work that way.
Well, there are a lot of people out there, like in the world of the network world, or the cable TV world. They only do one job, whatever their one job is. Maybe their one job is interviewing people. Well, somebody else does the research and gets all the questions ready and says, "Here you go." And now you have to interview somebody, and when they're done, they leave. And somebody else does all the editing, the sound check. I remember hearing about Larry King. He's a fairly well-known interviewer. I mean, he's passed away, but his staff got there at 7 or 8 in the morning. They spent about 12 hours working on content and questions and researching the guest for that night. He would walk in 15 minutes before showtime, having done zero prep. And it's a routine every night. And they would say, well, Mr. King, here's all the notes, 10 gazillion pages we put together, special focus on these three things. And he goes, okay, great. Thank you very much. He'd go to his desk, get his coffee, turn the mic on, the show would start, and he would never look at those notes once. He just felt it was well within himself to just have a conversation with people and not get tied to notes. Now, I don't know why he had a staff then putting these notes together if he never paid attention. But that's part of the trick as well. But wouldn't it be nice if we could have staff like that? They do all the groundwork, and the only thing you and I have to do is show up, act well. In my case, act like I'm cute. In your case, be cute. Ask a few questions, tell a few jokes, and go home. But that's not how it works.
No, it isn't how it works. And actually, I think I'd rather this than having something handed to me. Try to read it and act passionate about it, or act like I'm interested about it, and then walk away. In this case, this is a subject we are both very passionate about. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes it a labor of love, as I've heard that called before.
Well, there was a governor of a state. I won't mention his name or the state. Years ago, the word on the street from all the people behind the scenes on his side as well as the other side, they said when that guy walks into a room, he is instantly the most prepared person in the room because he was up all night and half the night before studying everything. So he knew more about an issue than anybody else in the room when he walked in. And that's what we try to do here. We don't just walk in and say, oh, what do you want to do? Hey, why don't we record a show today? What the heck?
Yeah.
No, we've put in tons of literally hours in advance, you and I discussing back and forth and doing research and going back and forth with the guests coming up so that when we do hit the record button, we are ready to go. But again, that's us doing it. It's not a team of thousands. So I wanted to spend about 30 seconds on that. I think I spent a little more than 30 seconds on it, but there is no team. We are the team, right?
That's it. There is no team. We are the team.
As they say, there is no I in team. And I heard a radio guy years ago say, there is no I in individual. Well, okay, there's three, but who's counting? See?
This is true.
No matter how you say it, we are the team. Wanted to mention, we have a gentleman who's contacted us quite a bit on Twitter, Consultant Vlad. You can find him on Twitter, Consultant Vlad. He started a subreddit group on Christian naturism, and he sent us the link, and he's been promoting us quite a bit and has since the beginning. And I told him we would promote him as well. And you have it in front of you. I know there are a number of articles that he's written on naturism. Obviously, a very well-read guy. I've never met him, but he writes really well, and he gets into the core of what naturism is all about. Any thoughts on his site?
I've been reading his site since you sent me the link, and I have to say, it's impressive. He does have a tremendous insight, a very intellectual insight into the connection between being Christian and naturism, and how it is a good fit when a lot of people don't think that it is. And just in naturism in general, and some very interesting thoughts about it.
Yeah, and again, a well-read gentleman, obviously very intelligent. He's been writing to us since we started the show, and then he started this, and his latest article that I have in front of me, put up a week or two ago, Activism, a Virtue of Vice, a Virtue or Vice. He's talking about people who, once they become a naturist, they suddenly become, advocates and get out there. And is that the right thing to do or not? Well, he questions that and gets into it. Do you have some other article titles you want to throw in there?
I think had one that I really find intriguing is the history of undress, and that we are all beautiful. Nope, that one is very telling, because the body has always been and he uses an illustration of a Greek statue, a marble statue of a couple and baby, and I mean these are obviously exquisite bodies on this statue, and yet we know that that's not how everyone looks. So that attainment for that kind of look is, something that clouds us when we start to think about naturism and nudism, and that everyone wants to look like these people when we don't. We look like real people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good article that addresses that.
Yeah.
And he talks about beauty as God's image, and he talks about spiritual harmony, and so I think there's some really extremely thought-provoking articles here on his site.
Yeah. He has one called Nudity as a Tool for Social Engineering. And he gets into pretty heady stuff there, healthy attitudes, stages of porn addiction, which a lot of people struggle with more than we know, because it's, as I told you on a recent show, a psychologist out there said it's the hidden addiction. We don't really see the effects of porn addiction until it's too late. Unlike alcoholism, we can see that right away. Drug addiction, we can see it right away. Porn addiction, we don't really see right away. And then all of a sudden, whoa, where did that come from? Well, it came from 30 years of watching porn.
Exactly.
No secrets about that. So we invite you to check it out. Consultant Vlad, and it's a subreddit place called Christian Naturism. So we ask you to check it out. The link is in the show notes, and we appreciate Consultant Vlad very much, don't we, Lisa?
We certainly do. He's been with us from the beginning as well, sending messages and getting into discussions about what we've talked about on the show, and we absolutely love that kind of interaction with our listeners, and makes us think too. It makes us think about what else we need to do to bring naturism to everyone.
That's very true. And one of the things that we're very cognizant here is that when we do a show, we know that any one word or any one phrase that we use could trigger somebody, and it could trigger a whole bunch of somebody's, and they'll write in and ask us about it. So we're aware of that. That's why we purposely don't just take a shot in the dark. Well, I think it might be this, it could be that, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Because then people will get upset. Whoa, I didn't know that. It's like, well, I'm not even sure. And rather than get into a debate about stuff we don't know, we just try to put out content that we do know, right?
Exactly. And and what we don't know, we will, as you said, we will not talk about. We will say we don't know, and we'll go find out or ask the one who does know.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is, I never wanted to sound like the be all end all expert on anything for that matter, because there's no one that's absolutely an expert. There's always someone who looks at things differently or considers things differently. So, I'm not the expert on naturism. I just like it.
That works for me. Yeah, we've never proclaimed to be experts. We just enjoy it. We have a lot of information based on reading, talking to others, and life experiences. Those are big differences rather than just sitting in the dark. Well, I think, well, based on what? Well, based on nothing. It just I happen to think it. Our thoughts are based on life experiences, reading, talking to others, and so on, right?
Exactly.
All right. Wanted to get to this letter we have from a gentleman who I'm going to guess lives in Louisiana because he referenced a nudist resort there. I did not get permission to use his name. It's 2 paragraphs long. If you don't mind, Lisa, can you read the letter from this gentleman?
I will be glad to. Listening to your podcast has inspired me to step out and actually visit a naturist place. Being naked didn't make me nervous, but karaoke did. Ha ha. Make me nervous too.
Yeah.
Thank you for your inspiration and a happy new year to you. Talked to an older couple that's been going there for over 40 years, so I got to hear lots of stories about the resort, which was Indian Hills in Louisiana. It was hard getting dressed to leave. Might go back next week if the weather's warm enough. I think he has the bug.
I think so. And, well, a couple of things there. First of all, he went to a nudist resort, sounds like for the very first time, based on our
Yeah.
show. Like, I'm just going to go give this a shot. And he ended up loving every second of it, as pretty much everybody does.
Yes.
But he was so inspired while totally naked, gets in front of a crowd and sings naked with karaoke. Have you ever done that before?
I know I've never sung, I've done karaoke, but never naked.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't either. I've done a lot of singing in my life as well. And other than we talked about the Full Monty, there is singing there, but that's not a, well, I guess it is a Broadway play, but it's a staged play.
Right.
It's not just, hey, we're all together having fun. Frank, why don't you get up and sing a tune? I guess it'd be kind of fun, kind of cool. There's no reason I haven't done it. Just the opportunity.
Me either.
presented
I just,
itself.
I haven't been to a resort in a while to actually have that opportunity. But think about something. He was there, we believe, the first time.
Yeah.
And he felt comfortable enough with that group of people
Mhm.
that he could do that.
Mhm.
And that says a lot for other naturists and how they embrace the people that walk into the room.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very telling.
Now, typically karaoke is done at night. Just
Hmm.
people have fun in the sun all day, and then they have dinner, then they do karaoke. So he had been there pretty much, I guess, one full day and got to know people. And And like you said, it was comfortable enough. You know what? I'm going to get up here and sing a tune. I don't know if he's any good at singing, if he's a professional, if he's an amateur, if he's never sung before, but he decided, put the singing part aside, which can be kind of daunting in and of itself. There he is, clothes free in front of the whole crowd. I'm guessing the whole crowd was clothes free as well, singing his heart out and enjoying every second of it. And as he said, the hard part was getting dressed to leave. That is the tough part, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, it's a hard thing to do when you're leaving the house, every day when you have to do that, much less when you've been in an environment like that where you feel welcomed and you feel that you're in a place where you're accepted and for what you love. And so I think it's pretty good. And I just love the fact might go back next week if the weather's warm enough. My kind of dude.
I'm guessing. I don't know how old he is, but my guess is he would have gone back the next day if he didn't have to work. But
I would think so.
Yeah, it was great
So
to
that's
hear.
great.
And every time I've been to a nude beach or a nudist resort, same feeling. You know it's coming at some point. Like, oh, I have to put clothes on and get out of here. So, and sometimes I'll try to prolong the clothes-free part. Like I'll drive out of there clothes-free, and before I get to the main road, I'll stop and put clothes on. But it's not fun putting them back on, is it?
No, it isn't. That's for darn sure.
All right, Lisa Monroe. With that, let's head for the hills. Go out there and have a great clothes-free week, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay, Frank, you too. Bye, everybody.
Bye. The very terrific Lisa Monroe, as she goes dancing out of the studio once again, and does these segments every week, does our Thursday memes that go on social media, runs the website, helps with the Patreon page, and we thank Lisa Monroe for everything that she does around here. As a reminder, we are the official podcast of the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, great. If not, you can become one today. Just go to AANR.com, follow the navigation, and just like Lisa Monroe and myself, you will become a member today. How about that? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 86. And now let's get to part 2 of my interview with Marc from France.
No, and an interesting, because you're talking about music, and I had a lot of discussions as well, from our generation maybe, but, with, younger generation who listens to rap music, for example. Mm-hmm. And I'm not into rap music, okay? But I find it sometimes interesting. Words are interesting, the beats interesting. And then from an artistic point of view, and I'm not an artist, but I can understand that there is some great things in that particular genre. Although I'm a fanatic of classical music, and same thing, I understand that one of my sons does not like at all classical music and prefers rap. Fine. So did I miss something? Probably I missed something. Sure. But I'm not going to say, oh, you're stupid because you're listening to that kind of music. No, I want to understand. But that's probably because I'm curious. But I would really encourage, and again, it's because nudity drives some deep ingrained emotions. So sometimes it goes berserk completely. No, but you want to be naked. It says, whoa. Yeah. Let's cool down. Let's not go into angry discussion. Just cool down and let's see, try to understand. Okay. And I'll try to understand your point of view. So let's create a win-win kind of situation. Let's do a step to me. I'll do a step to you. And I remember a long time ago having this kind of discussion. Says, my wife says, oh, you again want to be naked. Says, well, okay, fine. You know what? Let me put a short on. Okay, and let's have a cool discussion. Yeah. And I think it's just it's just moving. It's not putting an opinion on something. It's just listening to the other.
Yeah, and one of the things we always tell people is, okay, you're in a relationship, and let's just say she wants clothes on all the time because that's 100% of the emails that we get. Linking it back to jazz, I like jazz. She doesn't. Does she have the right to forbid me to listen to jazz? There'll be no jazz in this house. You're going to sell your CDs right now, and I better not hear another jazz piece in this house, or we're going to have big problems. To me, I say, no, you don't have the right to do that. And that's where we get into a really sticky area with relationships, and we stay out of that because we don't know the people personally. We don't give advice to people we don't know. But same with naturism. You love to be nude. she thinks it's whatever, sinful, wrong. That's how she was raised. She doesn't have the right to forbid you to do it, because then you're going to be unhappy and stressed out, and
Yeah.
in long term it doesn't work out, does it? Or at least in terms of happiness.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And of course it's difficult because we don't know the story and the historical relationship.
Right.
But it's true that, as you said, for jazz, it's not about, oh, you're not going to listen to jazz anymore if you live with me in that house. I would
Yeah.
I would really question that relationship. But
Right.
I've seen people, I've seen a lot of couples actually around me getting a divorce because that's exactly how these things are going. It's just
Yeah.
the fact that either he or she does not accept that the other does something without her or with her, and that becomes, a sour relationship. So, but I think it's all about accepting the difference. And I think that, to me, that's probably how I evolved over time. It's actually looking for differences, because I think that difference in people is what makes them richer, or makes the relationship richer.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes. Yeah. Like you said a few moments ago, if you're exactly the same on every single issue, that's going to get old fast. It's just
Exactly.
no excitement. It's going to go. One of the things we tell people around here is, at the beginning of a relationship, if you're a naturist, tell the other person you're a naturist. And you might have
Correct.
to explain what that means, because a lot of people think, oh my gosh, you take
Correct.
your clothes off while you're a pervert and a psycho and everything else. And we always recommend no later than the third date. And that's kind of a randomly chosen thing. But there's some research out there. By the third date, you're kind of moving and grooving with the person, because not the third time on purpose you've said yes to go out and do some
Yeah.
stuff together.
Yeah.
And so before it develops into fully, in love, I have to be with this woman the rest of my life, and she feels the same way about me. Get this on the table early. It's better to have somebody. If you walk around with clothes on, I'm out of here. Much better to do that after the first 2 or 3 weeks than the first 20 or 25 years of marriage, right?
Yeah, no, I fully agree, and I think that's for every other topic. And as I said, so probably nudism brings a lot of emotions, and therefore I'd say it increases the level of angriness or unease. But the thing is that if there is that too high a level of unease, then it will become sour pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
And I did we did not have this conversation ever, but I remember a couple of times where, and not only on naturism topics, but sometimes where you're with your spouse, you have this discussion about, well, let's not go too far there, and again, saying, I understand your point of view, and again, we've agreed to disagree. So
Mhm.
let's continue agreeing to disagree, and let's see whether we can find a consensus. And I think that if the relationship is strong, you will find a consensus normally, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the best way to continue and save that relationship, if you want to save it, of course.
Yeah. Maybe we should go back to college, Mark, and get our degrees in naturism counseling. We're so good at it.
But I got a friend, well, through naturism, actually, is a Dutch guy who looks into doing his PhD thesis on naturism. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's trying to find a college actually who can where he can pursue his PhD. So I think it's an interesting thing. So there are lots of things
Oh,
to do around that. So yeah, let's go back to school. Yes.
yeah. Keep me posted on that. I'd like to talk to him, or at least read his
Sure.
research if and when it gets published, and
Yeah.
maybe tell our listeners something about that, or even have him on.
Yeah.
We are talking to Mark this morning from France. And Mark, I'm going to let you put your website out there in English and in French, and then we'll talk about your books after that. So how can people find you? What's your website?
It's nudeandhappy.com. That's the English version, and nuetheureux.com as well. So Nu et Heureux is the French version, and Nude and Happy is the English version.
Okay, that's very easy for you to say.
Yep,
Not so
it
easy
is.
for me. I had a choice in school way back, and it was in middle school. Technically, in the United States, anyway, you got 4 years of high school. But for me, when I was a kid, my first year of high school was still in the middle school because of an overcrowding situation. So still in the middle school, but it counted as a high school credit. You could take a foreign language. And the only two they had, French and Spanish. And all the teachers were saying, well, Spanish is going to be or is, and the number one language in the world in terms of
Yeah.
speaking. And so I took Spanish. And then I think right after about a year, so I've been in Spanish for about a year, and I was speaking reasonably well. I acquired, lack of a better term, a girlfriend. And so I would say things to her in Spanish, and she'd say, well, what does that mean? So I'd tell her, and we'd have fun with it. And then she came home one day and said, well, I signed up for classes. I said, great. Did you take Spanish? She goes, no, I took French. I thought, oh, shoot. On the one hand, now we can't converse in Spanish for, any length of time. But at the same time, kind of going back to what we said a few moments ago about naturism and jazz, now I can learn a few words in French, but I never really did really well. So I'm glad you pronounced the name of your website. Say it again in French.
Nu et heureux. Nu
All right.
et heureux. Yeah.
nudeandhappy.com. All right.
That's it.
All right. So, Mark, you write your books under the pen name Stan Muir, and you have a whole bunch. And the last time we talked, you said you have 5 books. Is that
Correct.
number still the same, or any more out?
Now there's one in the workings. So the 6th is in the working.
Okay. All right. Very good. So let's just go through each book, if you don't mind, and give us a few tidbits about it. I don't want you to give the whole book away because obviously we want people to buy these. But 101 ideas to increase nude time and nudist friends. We highlighted this book on a previous show and talked about some of them. What are some of the highlights of that book? Things that people can do. You want more naked time with your friends? Here are some things you can do.
Yeah, that was I would say almost a contest that I put on myself, saying, can we really find 100 activities or ideas that that you can do naked, and you will find normal kind of stuff that we've discussed, about nude driving, nude hiking, and lots of other things as well, where of course it could be cooking, things like that, things that that are quite obvious. Go to the nude beach, that's quite obvious as well, and I think that, again, we're talking about pushing the limits. So it's all about, okay, where do we have limits and where can we push them? And so that was really the idea of brainstorming around, things that you can do that you may not expect, like throwing a naked barbecue, invite people and just do a naked barbecue. Yeah, why not? So that's the kind of thing. So
things that we might not normally think of, but yet are painfully obvious if we just step back for a second. Like you just said, a naked barbecue. Well, why didn't I think of that? Somebody's probably thinking out there. Let's do it. Let's fire up the grill. We have our clothes off. We're just having steaks or potatoes, whatever we're grilling. Clothes off. A great way to increase nude time with nudist friends, right?
Exactly. And that was really the whole thing, is take normal stuff that anybody could do on a daily basis almost, and just think about not having clothing on. So yeah,
very well said. You also have a book out there, 12 Ways to Become Comfortable with Nudity. Now, is this aimed at the non-naturist person or the naturist person to have more avenues? What's this one all about?
Yeah, I think that's I wrote this one as a few steps. I think that was originally an article that I put on the blog, which was really, okay, you are, sitting on a fence, you're thinking about naturism, you don't really know whether it's for you or not. So here is, a simple guide to, move step by step to ensure that, you want to move to the next stage. So that was really the idea of, okay, let's break down simple things that you can do, and I expanded that article into a small book. It's almost a booklet, I would say, that just breaks down those 12 steps that you can go through.
I guess in essence, to become more comfortable being nude, or in this case, 12 ways to become comfortable with nudity. Just start doing nude things. You mentioned cooking earlier. Just when you're cooking dinner, have your clothes off. That's the way to start. You start feeling more comfortable with it, and before long, it becomes a habit, right?
But I think that would be probably 2-3 steps ahead. Because
Okay.
I think that lots of people, well, most people, I would say, wouldn't start cooking naked for many good reasons or not.
Okay.
But
Sure.
there is a place that everybody's naked when you take a shower. Okay. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
I'm starting from that on. Say, well, you're naked. You take a shower, then you step out, you dry yourself, then, well, instead of getting clothes on, well, go around your bedroom or just hang around there, take a book, start reading. Or if you can walk to your kitchen to grab a cup of coffee, go to your kitchen and grab a cup of coffee, but don't get dressed. And so it's really around, getting used to doing things, but in a gradual manner, slowly, step by step. Because the idea is that you will, you know, go against things that you've normally done clothed that you would not imagine doing naked.
That's a very good way to put that. And I know a lot of people who, like you said, they go in the bathroom, they shower before they come out, or when they come out, they are fully clothed, ready to
Correct.
go. I
Yeah.
can leave the house right now and go to the store. And I've always felt, now I could be wrong, maybe it's just me, but no matter how well I dry off, you're not quite 100% dry for a
No.
while. There's still lingering moisture. And so that's part of my explanation to people, like, just let the air dry, dry off with a towel the best you can, but then let the air dry the rest, then throw your clothes on. But that's a very good point. Just something you've done forever. You leave the bathroom fully clothed after showering. Now leave the bathroom no clothes on. Carry them if you want to, and be ready to hide yourself if you think you need to. But at least it's a start, right?
Yeah. And just looking at yourself in the mirror. It's
Yeah,
crazy how many people just put a towel around themselves to do
yeah,
whatever they have to do, put makeup or brush their teeth or anything, but they never look at them completely naked in front of the mirror. Well, just do that, and you will have a different view on what a body is, what your
yeah.
body is.
That's right. I've talked to a number of people before. We should probably get one of them on the show. They don't consider themselves to be naturists. They always have their clothes on, kind of like we just talked about. They shower, they leave the bathroom fully clothed, ready to go. But when they stay at a hotel and they stay at the hotel alone, they're in
Yeah.
the room alone, the clothes come off and they're not going back on until it's time to leave. And now we're not trained psychologists, but let's play psychologist for a moment. What does all that mean? I can never be naked, but hey, I'm in a hotel. I'll be naked. Nobody will see me, but I'll still be naked. Where does that come from?
I think it's the fact that you are not in a familiar place.
Ah,
And
okay.
you don't have habits. And again, I'm not a psychologist, but
Right.
there's something I'm doing when I'm going on a trip and I'm going to a hotel. One of the
Yeah.
first things I'm doing is getting naked
Yeah.
and taking my clothes off my suitcase and hanging them and whatsoever. But that's the first thing I'm doing. Now it's interesting that a lot of people are doing the same thing because they're not in their place. Now they would not do that in their own bedroom or lounge just because they used to be clothed. And that's why I'm saying you're going to, if you do that in the vicinity of your own home, you're going to go beyond that limit that you're not used to. And that's you're pushing your comfort zone.
That's actually a very good explanation. I hadn't thought of that. Maybe you're more of a psychologist than you thought, Mark. That's a
I don't
very
know.
good explanation. It's a different area, different scenario, and like at home, I've heard women, especially, tell me this. I can't walk around my house clothes free because what if the delivery guy shows up? What if the pool guy shows up? It's like, well, unless you have your door open and you walk outside, they're not going to be peeking in. If they do, that's illegal. They
No,
can't just put their face to the window.
correct.
But there's still that stigma, like, I don't know, I don't want them to see me. You go to a hotel, the door shuts, the door locks. What the heck? So that happens quite a bit, more than we know, at least according to some studies and people I know. Now, you wrote a book called Becoming a Nudist. So is this for somebody who's just not a clothes-free person, but kind of wants to be, or what's the take on this one?
Yeah, and it probably goes into the psychology of it more
Yeah.
than I can
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah.
It's really around. I would say it's a kind of my journey into it. So, and what I mean by that is, well, nudism did not happen overnight. So,
Right.
what I mean is that, well, went to that beach, then discovered other activities, then met other nudists, then went to a resort, and so on. And every time I did something new, in a nudist environment, I discovered something new as well. So I discovered new people, I discovered new activities, I discovered a new way of looking at things. And so becoming a nudist was really around, well, let's look at all the angles, social, emotional, psychological, physical, of course, of what nudism is really. Because you know, my one of my really deep beliefs in that thing is you cannot really explain nudism or naturism. You need to experience it.
Yeah.
And every time you have an experience, you discover a new facet. And that's why I tend to say to tell people, well, you know what, you I can explain, you can read books, you can read my blog, you can listen to podcasts, but the only way to really understand is just to try. And of
Yeah.
course, once you try, then you will try multiple different things as well. And so you can look into my books, for example, to go into uh, deeper understanding of those things. So yeah, so that was really around the journey, and I was in, and still today, after years and years and years, I'm still discovering things about nudism and naturism.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Same here. I forgot who said it on this show, but they said nudism, naturism, clothes for your living, whatever, is not living your life differently. It's doing whatever you normally do or did with clothes on. Now you're doing them with clothes off.
Correct.
And part of the description of that book, playing volleyball, at a nudist resort, playing volleyball, playing whatever, going for a swim. For years you had clothes on playing volleyball. You had a swimsuit on to go swimming. Now just take them off, and then go swimming and play volleyball. Same activities, just not different attire, but lack of attire. And sometimes that's just the best way to go. And it looks like you agree based on that what you just said.
Yeah, and that's exactly the philosophy to me behind it is the fact that when you understand this is normal, well, being naked is normal, it's
Yeah.
natural, it's comfortable, then
Hmm.
you can do things that you would normally do clothed, entirely naked.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes, of course, it drives some some interesting thoughts because I, there's a very funny thought experiment I'm doing sometimes. When I'm in a very business kind of meeting, with business attire, and people with suits and ties, and I'm thinking about what the meeting would be if everybody was naked.
Yeah. Be a
And
lot
that's
friendlier and not as hostile
and,
for
and
sure.
and sometimes says, well, that's just impossible. But the fact is that, well, when you are a member of a club, well, you can have board meetings and stuff like that where everybody's naked, and
Yeah.
things go well as well. So yeah, so that's again pushing the limits.
Yeah, no, you got it. Your book, The Comfort of Nudity, on the cover, it says, dive into the transformative journey of embracing naturism and experience a new level of personal freedom and joy. And to me, that's a big part of what Clothes Free Living is all about: personal freedom, personal joy. The clothes come off, but then everything else goes off, the stress and
Yeah.
all of the nonsense we've been told forever. And you just said yes, so I know that you agree.
Yeah, that's and this one again is a booklet, so it's I think
Okay.
this first or second book I wrote, and it was just a bunch of articles from the blog that I repurposed and rewrote and expanded a little bit. Uh,
Hmm.
but again, that was really around this fact that, well, this is just something that to me is dear, and again, to step out of this exhibitionism, voyeurism, sexual behaviors that a lot of people attribute to naturism and nudism. It was just about the fact that the first thing that comes to mind is comfort. And as
Yeah.
you say, it's just the fact that I don't know what happens. I got my personal theory around that, but I don't know what happens when you just get naked and then you feel something which is different. Okay.
Hmm.
And my personal theory around that is that we are animals at the, from, so yes, we are thinking animals, that's for sure.
Right.
But part of our brain has evolved as beings that need to be naked. So we are wired actually to be naked, and it's the Homo sapiens or whoever, our ancestor was that moved away from Africa and just wandered into foreign cold lands that
Mm-hmm.
they needed to get cover, and so they invented clothing. Um, but the evolution where human beings have been naked is much more than the time that humans have been clothed, and therefore
Mm-hmm.
our own body is made to be naked. And I think that it
Yeah.
has implications in the psychology as well. So, and once you get away again, as I said, from sexuality, then you go back to maybe your primal environment, and
Mm-hmm.
you free your mind, and your mind works at normal speed, and tells you, well, guys, this is exactly how you should be, and look
Yeah.
at that, it's so comfortable. um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so that's the whole idea of the comfort of nudity.
Yeah. Well, in the world of psychology, not that we are psychologists, so I got to be careful with that. They always talk about returning home, returning to your beginning. That's where you're happiest. And so I've taken that to mean, okay, when you're born clothes free, and that's the greatest moment of your life. You're coming into the world for the first time. The big bright lights hit you. All these people are around, doctors, nurses, your mother, obviously, your father, embracing you like this is the greatest day of our lives because he is here, because she is here, and you're clothes free. And
Yeah,
so psychologically, in the recesses of your mind, when the clothes come off, it takes you back to that moment when you felt the greatest you ever felt before. And
correct.
now you're experiencing it again and again, even if it's not at the conscious level, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the last book we wanted to mention, these are not necessarily in order, but Embracing Nudity: Unlock the Freedom Within, Embrace Nudity, and Rediscover Your Natural Self. That's kind of what we just said, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it was same thing. It was a book that did somehow the synthesis of many other ideas. So I took a bunch of articles, put them together, and expanded in chapters. So yeah, it's anyway, it revolves always around the same kind of concepts. Yeah.
All right. And then you said those are the 5 books. You said you're working on book 6. Anything you can tell us? A working title, a release date, anything like that?
Yeah, well, the title will probably be The Passion of Nudism. And I was after a discussion I had with Hannah Woodings from Naturist World, so this online community and online blog or site. And we had this conversation, well, probably 2 years ago, where I said to her, sometimes I feel I'm obsessed by nudism and naturism. And she replied, "You're not obsessed, you're passionate." And I
Yeah.
says, interesting, interesting
Yeah.
point of view. So,
Yeah.
and it's true that, and so I started to look into what is a passion and what's the difference between a passion and obsession. And probably obsession is negative, passion is more positive. And so I looked into that and started to write a couple of ideas, put that on paper, and then started to talk to other nudists as well about how they feel. And so, and I'm gathering actually a few discussions with nudists around, how they feel with nudism, if if they feel it's a passion of them. And so that's a book that I will go into, again, the different aspects, psychological, emotional, social, but with a lot of interviews, feedbacks, and so gathering multiple voices around those themes.
Okay. Last couple of questions for you, Mark. Now, this one you might not be able to answer. You might choose to not answer. And if that's the case, that's okay. We understand and respect that. But on the cover of every single one of your 5 books, there is a nude woman. We see her fully nude from behind. It appears to be the same exact woman on the cover of all 5 books, the same pose, the same photo. So the question is that somebody you know? Is it a stock photo? And then the second question to go with that, any issues with Amazon or the so-called textile community? My gosh, there's a naked woman on the cover. We can't sell that book, anything like that at all.
Okay, so the cover was designed by a Fiverr designer. So I went to
Oh, yeah.
Fiverr, found a book cover designer. The previous versions, I designed the cover. It was not really good. I'm not a designer, so I said, okay, let's go to Fiverr. As soon as I started to sell some, so I put that money in and hire somebody to redo the cover. And so my idea was, because I wanted to keep it as a series, so I wanted to keep the same visual. And that designer was a lady, actually, and she came up with a couple of designs, and that one was kind of the one that I found. And actually, I shared that with a few other nudists as well, women, men, and all of them says, well, we love this one. So it was chosen by people. As having issues with Amazon, I can tell you they're much much worse, if I can say so. So no, not having an issue with it.
Oh, good. Okay, very good.
Not at
Well,
all.
I like the photo, and it appears to be an actual human being, not an
Yeah,
AI
yeah,
or
yeah.
not a
It's not an
drone.
AI. No, it's a real
Yeah.
photo. It's coming from a stock photo.
And even though we see her from behind, just the body language she's exhibiting on the beach, she's about to enter the water,
Correct.
standing, and she just looks like she's having the time of her life. Like, this is
Yeah.
the most beautiful moment I've had in my life. And so it's a great photo to put on the cover of Naturist, the nudist book. So, hats off to you for selecting it.
Thank you.
You bet. And again, we've been talking to Mark this morning from France. He writes books under the pen name Stan Muir, Muir. Nudeandhappy.com is the way to find him. And Mark, as I recall, the only way to get these books is through Amazon. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, because actually it's part of the I don't remember how they call that, but you can basically through Amazon Prime, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, so you can just get the books without paying. It's part of the subscription. So, and if you want to be part of that subscription, you need to be exclusive to Amazon, which I decided to do. I don't have much
Okay.
time to do anything else.
That's true. And I said nudeandhappy.com, and one more time, because I'll butcher it badly. What is your website when you pronounce it in French?
Nu et heureux.
All right. Maybe one of these days I'll try to tackle that, but it won't be today. Yeah, I don't want to, sound like a silly on the show trying to pronounce something in a language that I do not speak. So at least I'm smart enough to know what I don't know, right?
Sure. And by the way, so Stan Muir is the anagram of naturism.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I see it now. I'm putting the letters together, mixing them around a little differently. Very good. Very clever. All right.
It was, and I looked for a pen name, and actually, when I found this one, I found it was pretty good because of John Muir as well. So the naturalist, who lived at the end of the 19th century. So no, it's not the same family, but I said, well, that's the guy who basically crossed the whole U.S. by foot and loves nature. So that's a good good way as well to use that name.
Well done. Again, we've been talking to Mark from France. He runs the website nudeandhappy.com. Check out his Naturist Nudist books from Amazon. And Mark, go out there and have a great clothes-free day. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much. Likewise. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye. The very terrific Mark from France. He writes a lot of naturism books under the pen name Stan Muir, and also runs the website nudeandhappy.com. And we thank Mark from France for all of his time on these last two shows. And on the next two shows, which will be episodes 87 and 88, we'll be hosting the current communications director for the International Naturist Federation. I call him Mr. Nudism. He is all over social media promoting clothes-free living for all, the very terrific Hector Martinez. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, episode 86 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.